The silence of the desert world was not empty. It was a thick, heavy thing, broken only by the low hum of generators and the precise, scratchy sound of sonic brushes on stone. Under the glare of two orange suns, the xenoarchaeologist Tevok worked with a careful patience born from decades of study. His long, thin fingers moved gently, clearing dust from a surface that was not rocked out. His team had found it a week ago, a buried structure that their orbital scans had almost missed. It was hidden under layers of sediment, invisible to most sensors. Now they had cleared the entrance. It was a door, or what seemed like one. It was made of a material that looked like dark gray stone, but felt slightly warm, and its surface was covered in symbols. They were not carved. They looked grown, like the veins of a leaf, and they shimmered with a faint, internal light. Tevok's three eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep thought. This was not like the ancient crawl tombs or the lost cities of the Silix. This was older, much older. The symbols were a language, but it matched nothing in the galactic archive. It was a puzzle box from a time before known history. He took images and sent them back to the survey ship in orbit. The response from the Galactic Council was quick. They were interested, but cautious. They ordered a small team to study the structure. They also sent new orders. The star map found beside the door pointed to a single, unremarkable system on the edge of the galactic spiral. A yellow star, third planet, labeled with a symbol that pulsed in the scans. The Council wanted to know what was there. They were sending a mission. Commander Kareen of the Vespera species received the orders with a feeling of mild annoyance. He was a soldier, not an explorer. His job was to patrol the rim, not babysit archaeologists and diplomats. But orders were orders. The Council was sending 2 human observers from the United Earth Directorate. New members, only joined a generation ago. He had seen their dossier. Technologically average, politically unified, emotionally volatile. A young species. On Earth, in a quiet office in Seoul, Shun read his mission briefing. He was a linguist, one of the best Earth had, skilled in deciphering alien syntax. This mission was a quiet honor, a sign of Earth's growing place in the community of worlds. He felt a flicker of pride, mixed with his usual calm. He would be working with Mira, an engineer he respected. She was brilliant, with a way of seeing how things fit together that he admired. Mira, in her workshop in Bizin, was more excited. She ran her fingers over the schematics of the alien vessel, the Starseeker. It was an older Council ship, but its technology was still centuries ahead of anything humans built. She was eager to see its engines, its power core. The mission to the alien dig site was secondary to her. The ship was the real prize. 2 weeks later, they met on the orbiting station. Jun was a man of few words, with a thoughtful expression. Mira was more energetic, her eyes quickly taking in every detail of the alien architecture around them. Commander Karen greeted them with a stiff nod. He introduced Tevok, who had come up from the planet's surface. The alien archaeologist was vibrating with a contained energy. The structure is inert, but not dead, Tevok explained, his voice a soft whisper. It responds to certain energy frequencies. But the language, it is a wall, a beautiful, perfect wall. Jun looked at the images on the screen, rows of flowing, interconnected symbols. Something cold and familiar touched the back of his mind. A shape like a curled fern, a line that ended in a spiral. He had never seen them before, but they felt known. He pushed the feeling away. It was just pareidolia, the human brain seeing patterns where there were none. The journey to the desert world was short. From orbit, it was a rusty ball of rock. But on the ground, at the dig site, the feeling was different. The air around the structure seemed to buzz. The door stood before them, massive and silent. For days, the team worked. Mira set up sensors, mapping the energy readings. Karen supervised his security detail, bored. Tuvok and Jun sat for hours before the door, poring over the symbols. Jun tried every deciphering protocol. Nothing worked. The symbols remained stubbornly silent. One evening, as the second sun dipped below the horizon, Jun was alone at the door. The camp was quiet. He found his hand moving almost on its own, tracing a symbol in the air, the one that looked like a fern. As his finger completed the shape, a faint, deep thrum echoed from within the structure. A single line on the door glowed a soft blue for a second, then faded. Jun snatched his hand back, heart pounding. It was a coincidence, a trick of the light. He told no one. Mira, meanwhile, was having her own puzzles. Her sensors showed that the structure was not just sitting on the ground. Roots of the same strange material extended deep into the planet's crust, drawing on geothermal energy. It was a machine, sleeping. Her scans also showed that the star map they had found was not just a map. It was a key, and part of it was missing. A specific resonance signature. It's waiting for something, she said to Jun over a private channel, avoiding the alien ears. Like a lock waiting for the right sound. Or the right word, Jun replied quietly, thinking of the brief glow. The council grew impatient. They ordered Karen to prepare the Starseeker for the next phase, the journey to the mapped star system, Sol. The mission was to be a simple survey. Assess the system, look for any connection to the relic, report back. No contact with the native species unless necessary. Before they left, Tuvok requested one last scan of the interior chamber they had discovered behind the door. It was a small, round room, empty except for a pedestal in the center. As the scan commenced, a low pulse of energy washed through the site. Everyone felt it, a vibration in their bones. On the pedestal, a new symbol materialized, glowing brightly. It was the same symbol that labeled the third planet on the map, Earth. And then, from deep within the structure, a single, powerful pulse of energy shot out, invisible and faster than light, aimed directly at that distant yellow star. The machines in the camp flickered and died for a full 3 seconds. When they came back online, the structure was silent again, the symbol on the pedestal gone. Tuvok looked at his readings, his skin paling. It sent a signal. It just woke up and called home. Karen's orders were now urgent. They had to reach Sol before whatever was waiting there received the message. The humans, Jun and Myra, were confused but followed. As the Starseeker broke orbit, Jun looked back at the shrinking, rusty world. The feeling of familiarity was now a chill. He had touched that door, and it had answered. What, he wondered, would answer the call from the other end? The Starseeker slid out of faster-than-light travel with a soft shudder. Before them hung a star system, peaceful and bright. A yellow sun, a scattering of planets. The third one was a swirl of blue, white, and green. It looked like 1,000 other garden worlds. To Commander Corinne, it looked utterly ordinary. A wave of relief washed over him. The Council's fears of some ancient sleeping power seemed silly now. This is Sol System, his navigation officer stated. Primary planet, local designation. Earth, signs of industrial era technology. Global communication networks, primitive orbital infrastructure. No deep space signatures. No energy readings matching the relic. Karen nodded. It was as he expected. The relic was a mystery, but this place was not the answer. The signal it sent was probably just an echo, a dead letter to a civilization long gone. He turned to his human guests. Jun and Myra stood at the observation window, looking at their home world from the outside. Welcome back, Corinne said, his tone neutral. We will begin a standard orbital survey. Your people have been notified of our presence. We request a diplomatic meeting in your largest city. Jun simply nodded. His eyes were fixed on the planet, but his mind was elsewhere. He kept seeing the symbol from the pedestal, the one that had glowed just for him. Mira, however, was already at a console, her fingers flying. She had linked her own datapad to the ship's scanners, with Karin's reluctant permission. Your planet has a very balanced geothermal readout, she remarked, more to herself than anyone. Karin's science officer, a slender being named Vix, glanced over. It is within normal parameters for a biosphere world. Is it? Mira zoomed in on her display. The energy distribution is too perfect. See these minor tectonic fault lines? The heat flow is uniform. It's like someone installed a planetary thermostat. Vix made a dismissive clicking sound. Coincidence and youthful interpretation of data. Your species has only recently begun to observe its own planet with advanced tools. You see intent in natural order. Myra didn't argue. She just saved the data patterns. She had learned that arguing with older, more advanced species was pointless. They would only believe what their own instruments told them. Down on Earth, in the bustling metropolis of Seoul, a meeting was arranged. The aliens would send a small delegation, including K-Ring and the 2 human observers. The United Earth Directorate was buzzing with nervous excitement. First contact had already happened decades ago, but a visit from a galactic council vessel was still a major event. The landing craft touched down softly in a designated park. A crowd was held back by polite but firm barriers. Jun and Myra stepped out first, followed by K-Rin and 2 of his aides. The air smelled of rain and city, a familiar smell that grounded Jun. Officials greeted them, and they were ushered into a sleek, transparent building. The meeting was long. There were speeches about peace and cooperation. The aliens shared general knowledge about the galaxy. The humans shared their history, their art, their hopes. They presented Earth as a young, unified planet, eager to learn. It was exactly what the Galactic Council expected to see. Karen gave a short, formal speech about the benefits of membership. Inside, he was already planning his report. System benign. Native species developing. No connection to ancient relic found. While the leaders talked, Mira slipped away. She claimed she needed to check some compatibility systems on the landed shuttle. Instead, she took a small, powerful scanner from her bag. It was her own design, built to detect subtle energy harmonics. She activated it discreetly, pointing it at the ground. The readings made no sense. Beneath the city, beneath the layers of rock and history, there was a latticework of energy. It was faint, almost undetectable, but it was there. It was not natural. It was a grid, and its pattern was an exact, larger-scale match for the symbols on the relic's door. Her breath caught in her throat. She quickly shut the scanner off. She found Jun during a break, pulling him into a quiet corner near a wall of living plants. "Jun," she whispered, her voice tight. "The symbols. They're here. They're under us. The whole planet is covered in them, like a circuit board." Jun stared at her. The feeling of familiarity, the chill from the desert world, returned in a rush. "Are you sure?" "My scanner is sure. It's dormant, but it's active. It's waiting for something." The relic sent a signal. What if it was an activation signal? Before Jun could answer, Karin approached. "We are returning to the ship. The initial survey is complete. We have found nothing of concern here." He looked at their tense faces. "Is there a problem?" Myra forced a smile. "No, Commander. Just homecoming nerves." Back on the Starseeker, orbiting the quiet blue planet, things began to go wrong. On the desert world, Tavok had made a terrible discovery. After the Starseeker left, the relic had not gone back to sleep. It had begun to hum, a low sound that vibrated in the teeth. New symbols were appearing on the inner walls, flashing in a sequence. He and his team worked frantically to record it all. He realized, with a jolt of horror, that the sequence was a countdown. He tried to hail the Starseeker. Static. He tried to send a message to the Galactic Council. The signal was blocked, swallowed by a sudden massive surge of interference emanating from the relic itself. It was as if the ancient structure was isolating itself, ensuring its message could not be stopped or explained. The countdown reached its final symbols. Tuvok watched, helpless, as the central pedestal flared with a light so bright it burned the symbols into his eyes. Then everything went dark and silent. The relic was sealed, a smooth, unmarked sphere of dark gray material. The call had been made. The answer was now out of his hands. On the bridge of the Starseeker, the communication officer turned to Kairin. "We have lost all contact with the archaeological team on the Rim world. There is massive interference at the source. It is deliberate." Kairin felt the first real twinge of unease. "And the planet below? Any change?" "None, Commander. All readings remain normal. The native species is going about its business." Evening is falling over the primary continent. Jun stood at the viewport again, watching the Terminator line of shadow sweep across the Pacific Ocean. The feeling was now a pressure in his chest. The symbols were here. Myra's discovery proved it. Earth was not just a planet. It was a locked archive. And someone had just shouted the unlock code across the galaxy dot. He thought of the speeches below, the proud presentation of human history. They had shown the aliens their museums, their digital records, their stories from the last 10,000 years. They had told them of wars and peace, of art and science. They believed that was all they were. But what about the time before? The vague myths, the unexplained monuments, the strange coincidences in ancient cultures separated by oceans? What if those were not the beginnings, but the fading echoes of the end? The end of a different humanity, the one that built the relic, the one that drew symbols in the bones of the world. Mira joined him, her face pale in the ship's light. "They don't see it," she said quietly, nodding toward Kairin and his crew. "They think their scanners tell them everything. They think primitive means simple. They're looking for power sources, weapons, massive ships," Jun replied, his voice barely a whisper. "They're not looking for a key hidden in plain sight. They're not looking for a lock made of biology and bedrock." Below them, the city of Seoul began to sparkle with evening lights, unaware of the grid beneath its feet, unaware that a signal from a dead world had just arrived. It was a whisper in the stone, a chime in the deep places. It was a single word, spoken in a forgotten language. And on Earth, something began to listen. The diplomatic reception was held in a soaring hall with glass walls that looked out over the glittering nightscape of Seoul. Soft music played. Humans and aliens mingled, the air filled with translated pleasantries and the clink of glasses. Commander Kairin stood stiffly, accepting the thanks of Earth's leaders. His mission was a success. He had found a pleasant, backward world. His report would recommend their gradual integration into the galactic community. The unease from the lost signal from Tuvok's dig site was a distant concern. Jun stood near a potted tree, feeling profoundly out of place. The symbols from the relics spun in his mind. He could see them when he closed his eyes. Mira was across the room, talking intently with a human engineer, but her eyes kept darting to him. She had shared her scanner data. The grid was real. It was beneath their feet right now. It started as a low vibration. A deep cello note felt more than heard. The crystal glasses on a passing tray chimed softly against each other. Conversations paused for a second, people looking around. Then the floor trembled. It was not a sharp earthquake. It was a steady, rising hum that came up from the foundations of the city. The glass walls of the hall began to glow. Not from the city lights outside, but from lines of soft, blue-white light that appeared within the glass itself, tracing complex, interlocking patterns. The same patterns from the relic. A murmur of confusion swept the room. Karen's hand went to the communicator on his wrist. "Bridge, report. Is this seismic activity?" The voice from the Star Seeker was confused. "Negative, Commander. We are detecting a massive energy surge from the planet's crust. It is patterned. It is not natural. It is spreading from multiple points globally." On the view screens around the hall, news feeds flickered to life. The same phenomenon was happening everywhere. The Great Pyramids of Giza were outlined in the same cool light, geometric patterns floating in the air around them. Stonehenge's stones hummed, and arcs of energy connected them. In the Bermuda Triangle, a vast, glowing shape rose from the ocean depths, water sheeting off its impossible angles. Mountains in Tibet split open, revealing smooth, metallic structures within. The alien delegates stared, their various forms of expression showing shock and fear. This was not primitive technology. This was something else entirely. Jun found himself walking forward, drawn to the glowing wall. The central symbol from the pedestal, the symbol for Earth, was pulsing in the center of the design. He knew it. He knew it in his bones. Without thinking, he raised his hand. He did not trace a symbol this time. He spoke. The word that came from his lips was guttural and melodic, a sound no human throat should have been able to make easily. It felt right. It felt like remembering a song from childhood. Astrokai. The moment the word left his mouth, the glowing lines on the wall flared brightly. The light did not hurt the eyes. It poured into the room, and in the center of the hall, a three-dimensional holographic interface resolved into being. It was a complex, beautiful swirl of star maps, data streams, and shifting symbols. It hovered, waiting. A stunned silence fell. Every alien eye was fixed on Jun, then on the interface, then back on Jun. Kareen took a step forward, his professional calm shattered. "What is this? What did you do?" Jun ignored him. He looked at the interface. He understood it. Not with his mind, but with something deeper. He reached out a hand. As his fingers neared the light, menus unfolded. Star systems flashed. A timeline appeared, stretching back millions of years. It was a library. A control panel. A history book. "It's not a weapon," Jun said, his voice filled with awe. "It's a guide. A record." Myra pushed through the crowd to his side. She looked at the data streams, her engineer's mind grasping the scale. "These are stability readings. For the galactic core, this is a maintenance system." She pointed to a schematic that showed their own Milky Way, with gentle flowing lines of energy connecting star to star. They weren't building empires. They were gardening. One of Kareen's aides, a tactical officer, drew a small energy pistol. "Step away from the device, human." Before Karen could countermand the order, the hologram reacted. A soft pulse of light extended from the interface and touched the alien's weapon. There was a quiet fizz, and the pistol dissolved into harmless dust, falling to the floor. The light did not touch the alien. It was a precise, gentle, an absolute demonstration of control. The message was clear. Hostility was pointless. Jun continued to explore with his mind. Images flashed. Ancient ships, not of metal, but of grown crystal and light, seeding oceans on barren worlds. A decision made by a council of faces that looked human, but held a depth of wisdom in their eyes that was staggering. They decided to step back, to forget, to let their children grow on their own, without the shadow of godlike parents. They buried their tools, hid their libraries in the fabric of worlds, and left. They went to sleep in their own way, leaving behind only whispers in myth and strange, enduring monuments. "We are the Guardians," June said, the title coming to him from the flowing data. "Not rulers. They seeded life. They built the framework that allows stable hyperspace lanes. They set the rules of physics in this region of space. Then they left. They hid it all, even from themselves, so they could live as just another species. So they could earn a place, not take one." Karen stared, his understanding of the universe crumbling. His people, the Vespera, prided themselves on being an ancient race, with records going back 200,000 years. Humanity's hidden history made that look like a single page in an endless book. The Galactic Council, the greatest power he knew, were merely tenants in a house whose architects had been pretending to be children. Outside, the city was transforming. The glowing lines were not damaging anything. They were integrating. Streets pulsed with soft light. Buildings gained new, elegant lines of energy. High above, the Starseeker reported that the moon was now ringed with a faint, geometric halo. "The signal from the relic," Karen whispered, the truth dawning. "It wasn't a warning to us. It was a wake-up call for you." John nodded, his hand still in the light. He could feel the planet now, a living system beneath his feet, awake for the first time in eons. He could feel other minds, like Myra's, brushing against the network, beginning to understand. "You discovered the front door," John said, looking at the commander. "And you rang the bell. Now the owners are home. But we're not here to kick anyone out." He looked at the star map, at the gentle, caring patterns of stewardship. "We're here because the house needs repairs. And you just proved you don't know where the tools are." The news traveled across the stars faster than any ship. The Galactic Council received Karen's initial frantic report. Then the corroborating data from 100 other alien vessels that had been monitoring Earth from a distance. A simple garden world had, in moments, become the source of a galactic-scale energy signature. The images were undeniable. The glowing planetary grid, the reactivated monuments, the human, Jun. Speaking to a machine older than any known civilization. Fear is a powerful motivator, especially for those used to being in charge. The council convened in emergency session. They saw a sleeping giant awaken. They did not hear Chun's words about stewardship. They saw only a shift in power so vast it threatened to erase their own importance. A faction led by the stern, militaristic Thulians argued for decisive action. "We cannot allow this ancient unknown power to dictate terms," their representative thundered. "We must secure the technology, understand it, and control it. For galactic stability." A fleet was assembled. Not a survey fleet, but a battle group. 3 Thulian dreadnoughts, sleek and deadly, led the formation, supported by a dozen lighter council cruisers. Their orders were clear. Enter the Sol system, establish a perimeter around Earth, and demand the immediate surrender of all ancient technology and artifacts to the Council for safekeeping and study. Commander Karen was ordered to stand down, prepare to be relieved. On Earth, the awakening was gentle but profound. People felt a new connection, not to a voice, but to a presence. It was the planet itself, whispering its old memories. Jun and Mira became focal points, not as leaders, but as translators. Jun helped others access the mental interface, the archive. Mira worked to understand the physical systems, the planetary engines deep in the mantle, the atmospheric regulators, the quiet sentinels buried under the ice caps. They learned the true purpose. The systems weren't for war. They were for healing, for balance, for nurturing life. They were tools to gently correct a planet's orbit, to cleanse a poisoned atmosphere, to guide evolution away from dead ends. They also learned of the custodians. These were the last of the ancient humans who had chosen to stay awake, watching over the sleeping systems from hidden places. Most had faded into dust over the millennia, their watch finally over. Their final message played in the archive. When the call comes, it will be because the garden is threatened from without, or the gardeners have grown wise enough to tend it again. Teach them. Do not rule them. The alien fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system. Their ships were dark against the sun, symbols of modern galactic power. They hailed Earth. The transmission showed the Thulian fleet commander, a being with skin like granite named Graal. People of Earth. Graal's voice was a cold scrape of sound. You possess destabilizing technology of unknown origin. By the authority of the Galactic Council, you will deactivate all systems and surrender them immediately. Failure to comply will result in a quarantine of your world and the confiscation of the technology by force. In the hall in Sol, now bathed in the soft light of the planetary grid, the human leaders looked to Jun and Mira. The fear in the room was palpable. Jun felt a wave of calm from the archive. It was not a command, but a choice laid before him. He looked at Myra. She gave a short, sharp nod. They think it's a weapon. Let's show them it's not. Jun closed his eyes. He did not access weapons. He accessed the system's core directive, protection through nonviolent neutralization. He thought not of attack, but of stillness, of a deep, profound quiet. Graal, aboard his dreadnought, saw the energy readings from Earth spike. They are preparing to attack. All vessels raise shields. Target the energy sources on the planetary surface. The Thulian ships hummed with power. Their massive cannons glowed, charging. They fired. Brilliant lances of plasma, capable of cracking continents, streaked toward Earth. They never hit. A shimmering, honeycomb-like field of soft light appeared in front of the planet. The plasma bolts struck it and simply unraveled, their energy dissipating like smoke in a breeze. There was no explosion, no dramatic impact. The field didn't even ripple. On Earth, people saw flashes of light in the upper atmosphere, like silent, colorful auroras. There was no quake, no sound. Graal stared at his screens. Impossible. Full barrage. Focus on their orbital structures. The fleet unleashed everything. Plasma, kinetic kill rods, energy disruptors. A storm of destruction raced toward Earth and the few human satellites around it. The planetary system responded. It did not fire back. From points across Earth and from the moon, beams of gentle white light lanced out. They did not strike the ships. They touched the space around them. Where they touched, the laws of physics seemed to soften. On the bridge of the lead dreadnought, Graal felt a sudden, sickening lurch. All the lights went out. The hum of the engines died. The view screens went black. Gravity failed for a second, then returned, normal planetary gravity. The ship was dead in space. Not damaged, not destroyed, asleep. He rushed to a viewport. All the other ships of the fleet were drifting, dark and silent. Their power sources were not breached. They were simply turned off, as easily as flipping a switch. Around them, small, glowing orbs of light, like will-o'-the-wisps, gently nudged the ships into a neat, harmless holding pattern. Far from Earth, there was no victory shout from Earth, no taunting message. Only a profound, echoing silence in space. Back in Sol, Jun opened his eyes. The holographic interface showed the pacified fleet, each ship outlined in soft green. A single line of symbols flashed the ancient glyph for harm contained. Karen, who had been watching from the surface, his communicator silent, approached Jun. The commander's pride was gone, replaced by a hollow awe. You didn't destroy them. We told you, Jun said, his voice tired. It's not for that. The Guardians believed true power was the ability to end a conflict without taking a life, to protect without destroying. Your fleet is fine. Their power will return in a few hours. They're just parked. Myra called up a new set of data on the hologram. It was not about the fleet. It was a deep space scan, showing the swirling heart of the galaxy. This is why the system woke up, Commander. It's not about you. It's about that. The scan showed the Milky Way's core. To the alien scientists, it had always been a slightly unstable, energetic place, normal, but overlaid with the ancient human sensors. A terrible truth was revealed. A slow, creeping wave of entropy was spreading from the core. It was a galactic-scale decay, undetectable to modern science until it was too late to stop. In a few thousand years, it would unravel the hyperlane network, sterilize countless worlds, and plunge the galaxy into a dark age. The system woke up because its primary function is about to be needed, Mira said quietly. To stabilize the core, to fix the garden. Your fleet was just a distraction. Karen looked from the image of the dying galaxy to the peaceful, glowing city around him. He had come to judge a primitive species. He had ended up witnessing the return of the gardeners, and he had brought them their first foolish test. They had passed it without even lifting a finger in anger. The message was clearer than any weapon could ever be. Humanity was not playing the Council's game of power. They were operating on a level so far above it that punishment was irrelevant. They had a job to do, and the entire galaxy, whether it liked it or not, now depended on them to do it. Silence hung over the Sol system. The Thulian fleet drifted in its neat, powerless formation, a stark monument to a failed threat. On Earth, the initial panic had subsided into a deep, collective awe. The glowing lines in the cities had softened to a gentle pulse, like a resting heartbeat. People were beginning to understand, not with fear, but with a slow-dawning sense of responsibility. They were not conquerors. They were caretakers, and the garden was sick-dot in the hall in Seoul. The atmosphere had changed. The alien delegates, including Commander K-Rin, were no longer superiors assessing inferiors. They were students, and hesitant ones at that. They watched as Jun and Mira interacted with the holographic archive, pulling up schematics of the galaxy that made their own star charts look like childish drawings. The entropy wave, Myra explained, her finger tracing a creeping stain of dull color at the galactic core. Your science sees random energy fluctuations. The archive sees a structural tear. Think of it like rust on the supports of a bridge. Our ancestors built stabilizers to counteract this, but they've been offline for millennia. The rust has spread. Jun looked at the gathered aliens. The system woke up because the automated maintenance call finally went out. The relic on the rim world was just one alarm. There are others. The galaxy is calling for its gardeners. Graal, the Thulian commander, was patched through from his dead ship, his voice stripped of its earlier arrogance, now just confused and weary. And what does this gardening require? Cooperation, Jun said simply. The tools are here. The knowledge is here. But the scale is galactic. We need to reactivate a network of devices, anchors placed in star systems across the spiral arms. They need to be activated in a precise sequence. Your people, he said, looking at Karen, then at the images of the other aliens, know those regions. You live there. We need your ships, your navigators. Not as a military, but as a delivery and repair crew. It was a humbling proposition. The mighty Galactic Council reduced to assistance. Yet, the alternative was unthinkable. The data from the archive was projected to every Council world. Their own scientists, after initial disbelief, confirmed the horrifying truth. The entropy wave was real. Their civilization had a lifespan, and the clock was ticking. A new kind of meeting took place. Not in the grand council chambers light years away, but in the glowing hall on Earth. Human ambassadors sat with alien ones. Jun and Mira translated the ancient schematics into modern terms. They showed how the anchors weren't weapons, but immense, gentle machines that would emit a harmonic resonance, stitching the fraying fabric of space-time back together. The first mission was to a nearby star system, one with a gas giant that served as a cosmic anchor point. A human team, led by Myra, would go on a repaired and refitted alien vessel, crewed jointly by humans and Vesperans. Jun would remain on Earth, the main link to the archive, guiding the operations. Karen requested to join Myra's ship. He told his superiors it was to ensure council interests were represented. But the truth was, he needed to see it. He needed to understand this new, quiet power. The journey was quiet. On the ship, the human and alien crews worked side by side, the old hierarchy forgotten. They arrived at the gas giant, a swirling monster of orange and red. According to the archive, the anchor was buried deep within its liquid metallic core. Impossible to reach, the Vesperan pilot said. Our ships would be crushed. Myra studied the interface connected to Jun back on Earth. We don't go to it. We sing to it. She initiated the sequence Jun sent. The ship's modified engines began to emit a low rhythmic pulse, not of sound, but of focused gravity and light. It was a specific frequency, a call. For hours, nothing happened. Then, the clouds of the gas giant below began to stir. They swirled into a vast, perfect geometric pattern, a triangle within a circle. From the heart of the pattern, a shaft of calm, clear space opened, a tunnel through the violent atmosphere. And from that tunnel, rising slowly, came the anchor. It was a smooth, obsidian obelisk, humming with the same soft light as Earth's grid. It rose until it orbited the planet, and then it began to glow, sending a pulse of stabilizing energy down into the star below and out toward the next anchor point in the network. It was beautiful. It was peaceful. It was the most profound engineering feat Keirin had ever witnessed. He looked at Myra, who was smiling not in triumph, but in relief. It still works, she whispered. One by one, across the galaxy, the anchors woke up. Each activation required the presence of a human, a genetic key, working with local alien crews, who provided the muscle and the knowledge of their homes. The galaxy watched, first in wary fear, then in dawning hope, as the mysterious, ancient structures emerged from within stars, from asteroid fields, from the hearts of dead worlds, and began their silent, healing work. Years passed. The work continued, a slow, careful mending of the cosmos. Earth became a quiet center, a place of learning rather than command. Jun, older now, often stood on a balcony in Seoul, looking at the stars that were now connected by a web of gentle, human-tended light. Corinne, now an ambassador of a different kind, found him there one evening. The Galactic Council still existed, but its purpose had shifted. It was now a forum for coordinating with the Guardians, not commanding them. The core stabilization is at 40%, Corinne reported. My people's scientists say the decay has not only stopped, but reversed in the activated sectors. Jun nodded. The garden is resilient. It just needed the right tools. Keirin was silent for a moment. We came to you thinking we were discoverers. We thought we were giving you a place in our story. We never imagined we were minor characters in yours. Jun looked at the commander, his friend. It's not our story, Keirin. It's the galaxy's story. We just forgot we were the scribes. You helped us remember our pen. He gestured to the sky. You were afraid we would rule. But true guardianship is the opposite of rule. It is service. It is making sure the bridge stands long after the builders are gone. Below them, the city glowed with its own soft, internal light, a beacon not of conquest, but of quiet, vigilant care. The aliens had discovered humanity's secret, but too late to fear it, and just in time to help. They now lived in a universe that was cared for, a thought that filled them with a profound and humbling peace. Humanity was back, not on a throne, but on their knees, hands in the soil of reality, tending to the roots of all things. And the galaxy, forever mindful, watched and learned what it meant to be truly ancient and truly powerful.